information. In today's session, we will see about one of the most useful feature of Playwright, that is called as trace viewer. So in previous sessions, we have seen how to save screenshots, how to check videos whenever the test case fails, etc. What is trace viewer now? So Playwright trace viewer is a GUI tool that helps you to explore recorded Playwright trace after the script has run. So after your test execution is completed, your test case is executed successfully, or maybe it can be failed as well. In such cases, we can find different traces by using trace viewer. It is very helpful for debugging purpose. So whenever the test case fails, by using the trace viewer, we can see what exactly might have gone wrong with the test case. Playwright Trace Viewer also provides a tool in which we can replay your test. It also provides timeline of your overall test execution. You can check out by going forward as well as backward into that test execution. So Trace Viewer records everything that happens when your test runs. So we can see step by step what went wrong if a test case fails. What are the reasons we should use Playwright Trace Viewer? We can see what happened at each step of the test. We can not only just see the UI, but also we can also check out screenshots, console logs, network requests, API calls, etc. So it will help us to easily debug failed test instead of just guessing what could have gone wrong. So that's why Trace Viewer is very useful feature of Playwright. What can you see in the Trace Viewer? So in Trace Viewer, we can see timeline of actions like clicking, typing, navigation. So whatever happened in that test script, we can see in Trace Viewer. We can also see the screenshots at every step. We can also check network request, API responses which happened during the test execution. Console logs and errors also we can check. So Trace Viewer is like recording of your test execution. With Playwright Trace Viewer, you don't need to rerun the test multiple times. Just open the trace and debug quickly. So that's about theoretical concept of Trace Viewer. But it would be very interesting to check practically as well. So now let me show you practically how the Trace Viewer works. What are the things we can check in Trace Viewer? So I will create a new file. I am naming it as trace viewer underscore demo.spec.js. So we have created one spec file. I will just copy one of the previous sessions test case. It's a basic test case in which we are opening source.demo.com website. We are passing login ID. We are passing password. Then we are clicking on login button. And after performing the login, we are just verifying the title in the logo. Basically, we are just verifying the logo text which is having swag labs or not. So this is a simple test case which I am going to execute. So let me copy and paste that test case here. So we have created a file, we have pasted the steps. This is our simple test case. And if I want to enable the trace viewer, what we have to do is we have to go to playwright config.js file. Inside this playwright config.js file, we have already seen screenshots and video configuration inside this use block. So I'm just commenting as of now. So let me just comment out these options, and we will see if you want to enable the trace viewer, we have to use this option, that is trace. Inside the trace, so this is the trace option inside this use block. And what are the different options? What are the different configuration options available for trace? Options are off. Off means it will not enable or it will not record any trace. On means it will record the trace for all the test execution. So currently, and along with that, there are some more options as well. For example, if you see off, on all retries, on first retry, retain on failure, retain on first failure, retry with trace. So these are different configuration options which are available for tracing our test execution. So I will keep it as on currently. So we have enabled the trace viewer. We have kept it as on. So it will record the trace for all the test cases execution. Now I will just execute the test case. So let me quickly just execute this test case. So let me clear the console. What is the command to execute the test case? Npx playwright test file name underscore demo dot spec.js hyphen headed, so that we will see in our browser, hyphen project equal to chromium. So let's execute this command and let's execute the test case. So it will launch sourcedemo.com website. It will pass username, it will pass password, then it will click on login button. After that it will verify logo text. There is small spelling mistake in our test case name, so let me just correct this one. Okay, so now we have corrected the mistake. Let's execute this file one more time. So it will start the test execution now. It is starting the test case. It will launch the browser. It will open the web page. It will perform login action, and our test case got passed. It happened so fast. Now we have kept trace option on in our playwright config.js file. Now if you see where exactly our trace got generated. So inside the test result folder, inside the test results folder, if you see here, there is trace.zip file which is created. So this is the trace.zip file. It's basically the file which contains all the trace of the test case which we have executed. So let me just go to official documentation of Playwright as well. So as I said, trace viewer is GUI tool on which we can see the traces. And if I want to view the trace, how to view the trace? So to check the trace, we have to execute this command, npx playwright show hyphen trace and path of that trace.zip file. So what is the command? Npx playwright show hyphen trace. I am just copying this command. I want to see the trace viewer, so I am just copying this command, and here we have to provide path of this trace.zip folder. So let me just copy its relative XPath and let's paste that path here. So this is the command, npx playwright show hyphen trace and path of trace.zip file. That file gets generated inside test results folder. Now let's execute this command. So it should open a new window which contains the trace viewer. So now it will open the window which contains the trace viewer and all the traces of the test cases which we have executed. Now if you see, this is the most important window now. So let me maximize this. So this is called as a Playwright Trace Viewer window. If you see, this is called as Playwright Trace Viewer window. Now in this window, if you see, what are the things which we can observe? There are multiple things which we can observe here. There are multiple things. For example, if you see actions and metadata. So one by one, let's see what are the different things we can see in Trace Viewer. So as I said earlier, we have to enable tracing in Playwright by keeping on option inside this use block. It will enable tracing. After that, what are the different feature? After the test execution, we have to open the trace viewer. So this is the command npx playwright show trace, and this is the path of our trace.zip folder. One by one, let's see what are the different things. So first one is actions. In the actions tab, you can see what locator was used for every action and how long each one took to run. So let me just show you that inside the trace viewer only. So let me just show you action tab. So if you go to this trace viewer window, there is a actions section. In the action section, you can see all the actions which happened in our test case execution. So if you see now page.goto, this is our first step by which we went to our web page. Locator.fill, locator.fill password, locator.fill username. Then we have clicked on that login button. Then we have captured the text content from Swag Labs, that is the web page. And then we have compared that locator with assertion. And at the end, we have closed the browser. So basically, if you see in Actions tab, you can see what locator was used, what are the different actions which we have performed during the test execution. And when you hover the each action of your test, and you can visually see the changes in the DOM snapshot. So if I hover on this step in the action, you can see on the right hand side, if you see here, it shows you the screenshot basically. Let me just maximize a bit. Yeah, so if you see in actions, whenever I hover on these steps, it will show you the snapshot on the right side. Locator.click on login button, text content captured from the logo. So all this step, whenever you hover on that action, it will show you visually the snapshot in your right side. Along with actions, there is metadata also. So in metadata, we can see a different data. For example, what is the start time of the test case? What is the duration it took for execution? So if you see in metadata, you can see all those data. For example, start time, duration, what engine is used. For example, Chromium is used. What is the platform, Windows 32, browser, whether we have used mobile or not, is mobile is false, how many pages are used, what are the different actions are performed in the steps of test cases, events, etc. So all that data is present inside the metadata. So metadata is present next to actions. It will show you more information on your test such as browser, viewport, size, test duration, whether mobile is used or not, etc. So that is the actions. We have seen metadata. Along with that, there are some more things. For example, if you see now, inside these actions, if you hover on some pages, if you see, let me just maximize a bit. At the bottom side, if you see, there are multiple things. For example, network. What exactly network section shows you? So network tab shows you all the network requests that were made during your test case execution. So for every step, whenever any API got called. Let's say any network request got created. So all those network requests are visible in this network tab. So you can sort by different type of request. You can also see the status code here. 200 is a status code. We can see what are the different method types which get called. What is the content type? How much duration each API call took? What is the size? What is the starting time? So all those things related to network calls are displayed inside this network section. So if you want to see more, you can simply click on it. And if you see all the things in network call, if you click on this specific, you can see all the detailed request as well. For example, here we can see URL, what is the method type, status code, request header, etc. Time which is taken for that API call. So all those things we can see in details as well. So if you want to see the detail of this call, so you can see all the details in this call. So what is the request body got called in this submit request? You can copy that as a curl. You can copy as fetch, right? So all these options are displayed. Entire request body is also visible here. So this is about network tab, in which we can see all the network calls, API calls which are made during the test execution. You can sort by different type of request, status code, method type, request, duration, size, etc. Along with network, we can also see console here. So console and logs will show you different type of actions, logs which are generated. Log section is also there. So you can see all the different type of full log of your test for better understanding what Playwright is doing behind the scenes. For example, scrolling, etc. Which elements were visible, for which element it took some time. If you see, so all these logs are generated here for every step. So if you see, for every step, it will show you detailed logs as well. So if you select any step, according to that step, it will show you all the logs. Waiting for locator, locator resolved, then it filled that value, standard user, attempting fill action, and waiting for element to be visible, enabled, and editable. So all those logs for every step are present inside logs. There is one more tab, that is call tab. Call tab will show you information about the action such as time it took, what locator was used. For example, if you see in this call section, you can see this time, duration, what locator was used, etc. and what was the return value. If you see for this specific step, for every action step, we can see call section as well. So it will show you information like duration, which locator was used, etc. There is error section as well. So whenever especially the test case fails, we can see the errors here. There is a source section also. If you see, there is a source section. So source will show you whenever you click on any action in the sidebar, it will show you what exactly, which line of code for that action is highlighted in the source panel. So this is nothing but our source code. For every action step, we can see which specific source code line is highlighted. So for every action, for example, if you see in this step, I have found the username field and I have passed this standard user. So if you see, it is getting highlighted in our source section as well. This step, right? So this will show you which line of code exactly it is pointing for that specific action. And along with that, if you see now, on the right hand side, you can see one action, before and after tab. So when you click on any specific action step, we can also see which step has happened before that and which action happened after that. So if you see, I have selected this step where we are passing the password as secret sauce. If I click on this before, it will show you before that specific step what was the state of that application. And we can also check after also. So before, it was just about to find that password input field, and after, it has passed that value in that password field. So it will show you before and after step. So let's say this login button. So when we clicked on this login button, after passing this password, here also we can see what is before and after. So this is action, clicking on login button. So on this specific step, we have clicked on login button. Now, if you select the after, it will show you what happened after clicking on login button. If you select before, it will show you what happened before clicking on that login button. So this before and after state also we can check by using this action tab. So this is again one of the very useful feature of Playwright. We can navigate in different steps as well. Also, if you see on top of it, there is a timeline section. So if you see here, we can literally navigate through all the different steps here. If you see, when I am navigating this timeline, it will show you every step individually, passing username, password here, and after that we can also see, let me just maximize this. So this is basically a timeline. So I can navigate through and it will show you the snapshot also. If you see standard user, login button, click, and it will show you next step as well. So this is the benefit of this timeline navigation. So we can navigate through all the different steps from this top side also. So this is for past test case. If you see, this was for past test case. This is the timeline section. Now I will just intentionally make this test case as failed, and then also we can again see the trace for the same test case. So what I will do, I will just close this trace viewer as of now. Let's go to Visual Studio Code again. Let me just go to our test case. Here I will just type some random text so that it will make the test case fail. After that, I am adding some timeout. And then we are closing that browser. Now let's execute this test case. Let me just clear the console and let's execute the same test again. So it should start the test execution. But this time this test case will fail because it will mismatch with the logo text which we are capturing. It will mismatch and the test case will fail. So it is launching the browser. After launching the browser, it will perform the login action and the test case got failed. Now let's see the trace again. If you see inside this Playwright test result folder, test results folder, inside that trace.zip, again I want to open this. So what I will do, I will just execute this command, npx playwright show trace results. This is the path of that trace.zip folder. So it will open the trace viewer. It should open the trace viewer window. So it has opened the trace viewer. And again, if you see now, all the sections are displayed here. If you see now, error section is also showing you the error now. If you see inside this error section, we can see the exact error which happened, because of which the test case got failed. It was expecting this text which we have added in our test case, but actual reality it received the swag labs, that is the correct one. So there is a mismatch between expected and received. That's why this test case got failed. because of this deep equality. So this we can see inside this errors tab. And as I earlier explained, these are the different options. For example, we can see action section, we can see metadata, we can above this we can also navigate by using this timeline feature. So we can simply navigate across the timeline feature also. It will show you the step-by-step execution of the test case. If you see, it will show you the step-by-step execution. Also there is call section, there is locator section, console section, network tab will show you all the API calls which are made. Source will show you all the lines of our test case for which specific action is highlighted. So this is the different features of Playwright's trace viewer. So let's revise one more time. What are the different features in trace viewer? Actions, metadata, we can see network calls, errors also, logs, call, source code. So all these things we can see in Playwright trace viewer. And there are different options as well. For example, as I said earlier, there are different options, configurations. For example, on first retry, we have kept it as a on. So it will record the trace for each test. But it is actually not recommended because it's performance heavy. Off will keep all the tracing off. So it will not record any trace. On all retries, it will record the traces for all the test retries. So whenever any test case gets retried, it will record the trace. On first retry means it will record the trace only when retrying a trace for the first time. So in Playwright, we can configure test retry also. For the failed test, we can automatically retry the test cases, retry the execution again. So that we will see in coming session. But these are some options. So whenever you Playwright automatically retry, on first retry, trace will get recorded. If you keep it option as on all retries, for every retry, the trace will get stored. And retain on failure means it will record the trace for each test, but it will remove from successful test run. So it will record for each test, but it will remove from successful test run. So we can also use this trace option, that is retain on failure, if you do not enable retries but still want traces for failed test cases. So that also one of the configuration option which is available inside this playwright config.js file. So if I keep that option again, so let's say let me just keep that option on. For example, let me just delete this trace.zip file this time. So I'm just going to delete this one. So let's delete this. So we have deleted the previous trace. So there is no more trace available here. And now let's keep the option as retain on failure. So what it will do? It will record the trace. But if the test case is failed, then only it will retain the trace.zip file. If it is passed, it will not retain that trace file. So let me just execute this test case again. So let me clear the console. What I will do, I will pass this test case. So let me just remove this random text from our expected logo text so that it will pass the test case now. And if you see the trace viewer, playwright test result folder is also not having any trace so far. Now let's execute this test case. This time this test case will pass now. So let's execute it. It should start the test execution and test case should pass this time. It is starting the test execution. And the test case got passed. The test case is passed. If you see test result, there is no trace.zip file is created because we have used which option here? Retain on failure. So if test case is passed, it will not retain the trace.zip file. It will create, but it will not retain it. It will retain only if the test case gets failed. So now let me intentionally fail the test case again. ABC. So I'm just adding some random text here. And now let's execute this file one more time. This time it will fail the test case. And once the test case is failed, we should be able to see the trace viewer file. Trace.zip file will get created this time. So it is starting the test case now. It is starting the test case. It will log in to that website. It will compare the title, logo. It will compare the logo text. It will mismatch and test case got failed. But now this time if you see, inside the test result folder, trace.zip file got created. This trace.zip is created now. So if you see now, to see the trace viewer file, again which command we have to use? npx playwright show -trace and path of that trace.zip file. So now if you open this, it will open the trace viewer again. So that is the configuration option of retain on failure. It will not create trace.zip file if test case pass. It will just retain that file only if test case gets failed. And then we can again open our trace viewer. So I hope you like this video about trace viewer in Playwright. In next session, we will see some more interesting topic of Playwright. Thank you one more time.